Elizabeth Báthory has been called many things: monster, vampire, serial killer, blood countess. For centuries, people have imagined her as a rich noblewoman soaking in the blood of young girls, desperate to keep her beauty forever. It sounds terrifying. It also sounds almost too perfect. A castle, a powerful widow, missing girls, a bathtub full of blood. It feels like history wrote its own horror movie. But when you look closer, the most famous part of the story begins to fall apart. The blood-bathing legend does not appear in the original records from 1611. It does not show up in the witness statements. It does not appear in accounts written during her lifetime. Nobody who worked for her, knew her, accused her, or testified against her said anything about her bathing in blood. Not one person. The first real mention of that story came more than a century after her death in 1729 from a Jesuit priest writing a dramatic account. By then, Bathory had already been dead for 115 years. That is not eyewitness history. That is gossip with a long beard. And once the story appeared, people loved it. Of course they did. Powerful widow caught in legal and political trap does not sell like evil countess bathes in virgin blood. The blood story was shocking, easy to repeat, and impossible to forget. So it survived. But the basic logic does not work. A bathtub would need hundreds of liters of blood. Blood thickens quickly after leaving the body. The image of Elizabeth calmly sitting in a smooth red bath is not just unlikely, it is almost ridiculous. The myth became stronger than the evidence. So who was Elizabeth Báthory really? She was not some lonely woman hiding in a dark castle all day. She was one of the richest and most powerful aristocrats in Eastern Europe. Her family had royal connections, political influence, military power, and huge estates. When she married Ferenc in 1575, their combined wealth made them one of the most powerful couples in Hungary. Her husband was known as the Black Knight of Hungary, a fierce commander who fought against the Ottomans. He spent much of his life away at war, which meant Elizabeth was left to manage the family empire. And she did it well. She handled land, money, servants, legal matters, household management, marriages, business deals, and political relationships. While men fought battles, she ran the machine that kept their world alive. That part often disappears from the scary version of the story. Elizabeth was a widow who controlled her own wealth. That alone made her dangerous in the eyes of many men around her. She did not remarry and hand her estates to a new husband. She remained in charge. In a world where powerful women were often treated with suspicion, that made her a problem. And she was not just rich. The Hungarian crown reportedly owed her family a serious amount of money. Her lands were valuable. Her castles mattered. Her political position mattered. Removing her from power would benefit a lot of people. Then came the accusations. In 1610, Count Jirgi Thurs raided Countess castle and placed Elizabeth under house arrest. He claimed horrific crimes had been uncovered. Servants were questioned. Confessions appeared. Witnesses started describing torture, murder, and cruelty. But there was one major problem. Elizabeth Báthory never received a proper trial. She was never allowed to stand in court, face her accusers, challenge the evidence, or defend herself properly. The woman later called one of history's worst female killers was never formally convicted in the way most people imagine. Instead, she was locked away while others handled the story around her. That alone should make anyone pause. The witness testimonies were also messy. Many came from servants who were questioned under pressure. Some were tortured. Some were facing death themselves. In that kind of situation, people often say what powerful men want to hear. Several testimonies repeated similar phrases and patterns, almost as if they were shaped to fit a ready-made story. The numbers were even stranger. Some accounts claimed dozens of victims, others claimed hundreds. The most famous number, 650, supposedly came from a register Elizabeth kept herself. But that register was never produced. Nobody confirmed it. It existed only in testimony. Think about that for a moment. If hundreds of girls had vanished from noble families and villages over decades, where were the records? Where were the letters? Where were the families demanding answers years earlier? Many of the supposed victims were not nameless strangers. Some were young noblewomen sent to learn manners, estate management, and courtly behavior. Their families would have noticed if they never returned. That does not mean Elizabeth was innocent. History is rarely that clean. Some historians believe she may have been cruel. She may have abused servants. She may have used violence that was sadly common among nobles of that era, but went too far. In the 1600s, discipline inside noble households could be brutal, and the lives of lower-class servants were often treated as disposable. But there is a huge difference between a cruel aristocrat in a violent age and a vampire countess bathing in the blood of hundreds of murdered girls. The second version is the legend. The first version is the uncomfortable historical question. There is another detail people often ignore. Elizabeth was known to practice household medicine, which was normal for noblewomen at the time. Estates used herbs, bloodletting, and treatments that sound horrifying today, but were considered medical care then. In a world before germ theory, people died easily from infection, illness, childbirth, and bad treatment. Some deaths may have been turned into proof of murder after her enemies decided she needed to fall. And her enemies had reasons. The king wanted control. Noble rivals wanted land. Family connections wanted inheritance. Religious tensions were high. Elizabeth was Protestant at a time when Catholic Habsburg power was expanding. She was a wealthy widow, a creditor to the crown, and a woman with too much independence. That is a dangerous combination. After her arrest, Elizabeth was imprisoned inside her own castle. Rooms were sealed. She was left with only small openings for food and air. No dramatic public trial, no final speech, no grand execution, just isolation. For almost 4 years, the woman who had once controlled castles, lands, servants, and money was trapped in darkness. In August 1614, she was found dead after her food had gone untouched. She was 54 years old. That ending is already chilling enough without inventing bloodbaths. Elizabeth Báthory may have been guilty of terrible cruelty. She may have been partly framed. She may have been both, a harsh noblewoman whose real abuses were inflated into a monster story by people who wanted her wealth and silence. The honest answer is that nobody fully knows. What we do know is that the story most people repeat is not clean history. It is propaganda, politics, fear, misogyny, religious tension, and horror fiction all mixed together until the truth became almost impossible to separate from the legend. 400 years later, Elizabeth Báthory is still remembered as the Blood Countess. But maybe the real horror is not that she bathed in blood. Maybe the real horror is how easily history can bury a woman alive, steal her voice, and let her enemies write the version everyone remembers. And maybe that's the real story of Elizabeth Báthory, not just blood, castles, and horror, but power, politics, and a legend that may have buried the truth for 400 years. So before you believe the monster story, ask yourself, who benefited from making her one? If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more dark history stories that reveal what the textbooks leave out.